Welcome to the Being Known podcast with my friends, Amy Chella and Dr. Curt Thompson, MD.
And my friends, Pepper Sweeney and Dr. Curt Thompson. I didn't know if I went second or if I... Okay, go ahead, Curt.
And my friend, Pepper Sweeney. Wait, no. And my really good friend, Amy Chella.
There we go. We did it.
Not very well. We are here to discover and explore what it means to be truly known. My friends.
Okay, I just love this. I love doing this with you guys. It's just so...
So today we get to hear from the most beautiful listeners in the world through the questions that they've sent in via social media and through emails and all of those things. And big shout out to Kara for collecting all these things for us. We appreciate that. Yeah. So I think we jump right in with the questions. This has been an amazing season on rupture and repair. And like Curt has said, he has been getting a lot of your feedback on it. And so today we want to continue down that road because this podcast is really about all of you. And we appreciate you listening every week and contacting us in various ways. So here we go. Our first question: does rupture and repair apply to our relationship with God? And as sub-question, can rupture repair make our relationship with God stronger? And do we see examples of that in Scripture?
I'm going to say yes, and then kick it to Curt.
No. No. Our audience wants to know what you think, Aim.
Of course, I mean, yes, God wants to hear it all, and if there will be ruptures, and he is in the, what is it? I was going to quote you. He is in the business of making repairs, and so he wants to hear from us, and then that gives us the solid ground that our relationship just gets strengthened and strengthened and strengthened.
And I would say it's important to understand the power gradient. This one.
Just a bit of
and not think of yourself as the one sitting in the catbird seat with all the power. Yeah.
Oh, man. The catbird seat.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, how many times do we've all heard people say, some version of either... Like, I can't trust people, but I can trust God, right? Which actually, I only really actually trust God to the degree that I trust enough people. Or the opposite version of like, yeah, I can imagine doing repair with my friends, but like with God, like it's just so, it feels so distant. It feels so like, how do you do that? How do you do that? And I mean, I think in some respects, this is what community is for. I mean, the whole notion of the gospel of Jesus coming and putting on flesh, the whole notion of Jesus putting Thomas's hand in his own side. There is a sense, God comes to the garden where Adam and Eve have had their brunch, and he's asking questions. He's coming for repair. Adam's mind appears to be so fraught with shame that the only story that he can tell is that God's coming to kill him. And so the notion of entering into repair feels overwhelming to him. And I think that at the end of the day, for many of us, the ruptures that we've experienced in our own lives, the first 2 decades of our lives and the systems in which we grew up, makes it really difficult for us to have any kind of a template of a God who would be in the repair business. And so we come back to kind of like a formational text from 1 Corinthians that, the person who loves God is known by God. I love you. I love you both, not just because I've been able to reveal to you the parts of me that I hate the most, but also when there has been a rupture, even of a minor form, to enter into that and you enter into that, and we work to repair that, it literally gives my body a felt sense of you being even more present with me now than you were before the rupture. And this is how, Jesus says to his disciples in John 20, as the Father has sent me, so I'm sending you. It's not just, because I got the same marching orders, now you get the same marching. It's as I have been sent, is the way in which I have been sent. And how am I being sent right now? I'm showing you my wounds. And to do the work of repair with God is often sometimes something that people have a hard time getting their imaginations around, which is why we, the body of Jesus, are, we are the proxy for this. Like, we are the stand-ins. We are Jesus for folks. And so inviting people to practice imagining what this is like for us to have Jesus in the room. And Jesus, as it turns out, looks and sounds an awful lot like Amy Chella. Seriously, it looks and sounds an awful lot like Pepper Sweeney for me. And that's how I end up feeling it in my chest. That's how I end up imagining, like, then being back in the room with the disciples in John 20 and saying, like, oh my gosh, like, we can all be there. Amy's there, Pepper's there. And Jesus, and we're going to do this work with God because I'm doing it with Amy. And this is how we are made. We can't get away from that.
Yeah. Great question. Great start. So here's our next question. How do I grieve and move forward when a friend is unwilling to repair? And as a follow-up, when is it time to stop reaching out and accept the loss?
I'd love to hear your add-ons to this, Amy. I'll just say this much, that we've said on multiple occasions that we are people of great longing and we are people of great grief. In this world you will have tribulation. But I've said these things to you so that in me you will have peace. Not so that in the theology you'll have peace, or in this information you'll have peace, but that in this relationship with me. And there are many relationships in which ruptures will not be repaired because the unwillingness of the other party. And there is grief. And this is where we return to the need for us to have resourcing, the need for us to have our own community, who can say to us, this is really hard. And they're not trying to say to us, this is really hard, and those other people are awful people. Those other people are the bad guys. Those people are to be condemned. We're really just talking about you and your sadness, but you have a longing to be connected. How often does this happen? People have ruptures with their parents that their parents are not willing to repair, and over the course of their lifetime as adults. And and what they wish for, they wish, and we talk about, okay, then you're going to have to get those needs met someplace else, and they try to work, and then they say, well, why can't I put to an end my longing to have a reconciled relationship with my parents? I wish I could just do that. And we would say, because you are a human being and eternity is in your heart, and the depth of the quality of the life that God lives is in you, and your longing for your parents cannot, it's like stopping having your chromosomes. It's like stopping breathing. Right. Like, why can't I live and not breathe? And there is a grief in this, and this is why we continually come back to this and this is Jesus weeping over Jerusalem. This is Jesus weeping at Lazarus' tomb. And Jesus weeping, praying in Gethsemane, and acknowledging that this is the world of tribulation in which we live. And we will pray that, and then we will get up with our support, with our resources, and we will then do the next thing that we will do.
Well, and asking, how do we grieve? I mean, it is a grief like any other grief. It is a loss. And taking a hot minute to acknowledge the loss. Because sometimes we'll feel it, we'll be uncomfortable, we'll feel sad, but to call it's a loss.
Yep.
Going in a little bit of a different direction, how do I teach my children about rupture and repair? especially in a faith context where authority and obedience are prioritized over reconciliation in this person's experience.
Pep?
I think, for me, I think it's modeling a lot, starting when they're very young. I remember specifically, going to my kids multiple times, and, when it was something, I caused something that was, I caused a rupture, I would go to them and apologize and talk to them, and that wasn't an experience that I had taught to me growing up, but it was something that I wanted to give to them. So I think that's where it starts, is modeling that repair with them.
And not only, like, I don't have kids, so I'm not sure, but it's also how we do repairs with other people. Like, they see, they're like, oh, look at that.
Yep.
Right.
It's
really all kinds of
and,
modeling.
And how we do it with our spouse, how we do it with our friends and family, and
all that.
Sure.
Yeah, we've grown up. We've grown up. I mean, like, we and our kids have kind of grown up together. We have this covenant group that we've been part of here in D.C. for more than 30 years, and in which I think not just our kids, but other kids of the children of other families, we're all kind of witness to the ruptures that we had to repair between families as well, not just between parents and their kids. And I'm hearing the word obedience, and I think one of the things that we're trying to pay attention to in this in our quest to be known is, it would appear that we have been put on the earth not just to learn how to obey for the sake of obedience. Obedience is something that we enter into in order to turn us into a certain kind of people. Parents will sometimes think that what their mission is to teach their children to obey. My invitation is for parents to consider that what we're really trying to do is to turn our children into certain kind of people. Not just people who obey. We're trying to form them into living, breathing Sermons on the Mount, living, breathing fruit of the Spirit. And one of the most powerful ways that we, certainly not the only way, but one of the most powerful elements of formation is the practice of repairing ruptures. This is what the gospel is about: God coming and repairing the rupture. And when we do this, we find that our children then become the kind of people who are also looking to do this in their own relationships. I may have told this story about when I had this incident in the kitchen when I was cooking, right? I was cooking, and where Rachel kind of calls me out,
like, Dad,
and you're thinking, right? Why? Because I just kind of barked at her brother, and she didn't think that was appropriate, and she's like, I think you need to apologize, and you're like, oh my gosh, you train your children, and then they turn on you, and in this same way. But I think this is, I'm like, goodness, I pause and be like, my gosh, like, I'm so grateful that that's what she said, instead of everybody just like quieting down and then getting and being obedient, right? And just like, doing their thing. And these are not binary. It's not like, well, we're either obeying or we're not. It is a matter of, and it is a matter of who are our children becoming. And I also recognize that this is tricky when we as families are living in particular church systems that pay a lot of attention to living in the world through a certain lens. We're going to be right. A lot of left hemispherically dominated way of being in the world instead of a more integrated way of being in the world. And this can be challenging because it's not just how am I responding to what's coming from a pulpit. I'm also like, well, what's it like for other parents in the situation, right? One of the things that I just absolutely loved about our kids' experience at this small Christ-centered school where they went here in Northern Virginia called Rivendell, and for many years, first Steve Larson and then my friend Byron List, who were the headmasters, were people who were really serious about forming children And these are people, and I know my friend Byron, this is a guy for whom repairing ruptures, among students, between teachers and students, between himself and teachers, between teachers and parents, this was a primary element. And again, this is not just to make sure that everybody's happy and so that nobody's upset with one another. No, because these are hard conversations to have, and some of these conversations required setting limits that ultimately have people leaving, right? Because they can't tolerate. We've set limits. We can't tolerate that. But again, to know that we are trying to become a certain kind of people that necessarily has to do this. So, Pep, I just really appreciate that leadership that you're describing and that you're implementing with your own kids. That is the most powerful way to get them to eventually go on to do the same thing downstream to them.
Well, I find on the daily I have a lot to apologize for. So,
oh, dude.
So, I mean,
yeah.
So here's one. How do I navigate daily ruptures in my marriage due to political differences? It's exhausting and feels increasingly personal. How can we coexist and move towards repair? Curt?
Pep, I was going to pitch this to you because you've already named in the last episode.
Yes.
It was in the last episode.
I mean, there are... That is not a marriage relationship that I'm in with the people that are political differences. That's a tough one. But I think that it's just like any difference. It's just like any, just because it's political doesn't make it a higher, deeper rupture. And so you repair it the way you would repair anything. You would go through the same process as anything else. And, I think that as, we want to be people of repair, I guess there at times need to be explicit and implicit, thin and thick lines of boundaries of things that we do or don't want to talk about for a while, and those boundaries don't have to be there forever. But if you find that in your marriage you're constantly fighting over politics, then maybe it's time to take that out of the equation for a while. Maybe it's time to set that aside temporarily so that we can talk about other things and work on other parts of ourselves and our relationship. I think that was an excellent answer, personally.
That was fabulous, Pat.
And I'm not getting anything from Curt.
Fabulous.
He's just looking at me. I'm getting an I'm getting an It's a very, very...
That was the thinking.
But I was feeling like he was going to maybe call me
fabulous
Pepper Sweeney MD for a second.
Pepper Sweeney. No.
The actual doctor is on the call.
That would be Dr. Pepper Sweeney, MD.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, well, wait, before C goes, because my thought, Pep, as you were talking, was I thought, okay, it doesn't, differing views on anything, but we'll say political because that was in the question, doesn't necessarily mean there has to be rupture. So then I think, okay, is it something different than rupture? You two look frozen. But I don't think.
No. I'm no. This is my riveted look. It's my riveted look.
That is it. Then it's like the rupture is, I think of respect and having differing opinions, but it doesn't. In and of itself, a difference of opinion doesn't.
Yeah.
Equate rupture.
Yeah. I think there's just a couple of reflections. One is I think my sense is that the nature of the relationship also plays a role in what we're going to do. If I'm sitting at a dinner table with somebody I've never met before, and it turns out that they have a particularly, we enter into a conversation in which this comes up and they express something very, very different from me. This may be a conversation that I'm never going to have with this person ever again because I never see him again. I may say, "Wow, well, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for your thoughts. Thanks for sharing that." I probably have a little different perspective. And it's 90 minutes at a table, and you get up and you leave, and that's a different kind of conversation than if I'm married to the person. There's the timpani. Ba-bum.
It's hard to do.
I don't know what that was about. I didn't know that you also had a drum kit that you were.
Gong. Anytime you say anything really.
Like the gong. It's a gong show.
Yeah.
It's like the David Letterman show. I have a thing of buttons here that I'm just...
Yeah.
This is why we usually save her for post-show.
Yeah. Gosh. But I also like I love what you're both saying about, like, of course, like the kind of the topic of politics. It's easy for us, you hear the word politics and everybody's heart rate goes up.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And my sense, but you're both right. That, like, it could be politics. It could be anything. But this gets back to the question I think that we were posing in the very last episode. This notion of, well, what is it that I actually want, and what is it that I'm afraid is going to happen? What is it that both of us are afraid is going to happen? I mean, we might a similar kind of thing would be like I know I have couples that come in that have very strongly different views about how they should parent a child. One party wants to do one thing, one party wants to do something else. And it's very easy for us to just kind of put these on this abstract plane of, you start talking about your politics on this side, and you start talking about your politics, and this is what's right about this, what's wrong about that for you. And so we're talking in this abstract language. And we've said here before that some of the work that we do in confessional communities is we're always moving from imagination to incarnation. More and more in the room. And so then the question would be, well, what is it that you're afraid of if the current political party were to do what they were going to do? What is it that I'm afraid is going to happen, not just in the world, because that keeps it abstract. What's going to happen to me?
Yeah.
What am I afraid is going to happen to me? And we were going to say, like, so if we were to do things my way, the way I would want them to do, what are you afraid is going to happen to you? And let's start, what are you afraid of? What am I afraid is going to happen to me? And this is where we have very little practice talking about what I'm afraid is going to happen to me. And I don't put it in concrete terms, it's going to happen to me right here and now. And because we don't talk about what we're afraid of, we don't give ourselves the opportunity to be empathic with what the other person's story is. That ultimately, in my view, so much of this really boils down to attachment. So much of this boils down to, in some way, shape, or form, if we do things your way, I'm going to end up living in a box under a bridge. And you think the same thing. And we don't give ourselves the chance to be empathic with each other and to say, well, what could I do differently? How can I be different for you in this regard? If we parent the way you want to parent, this is what's going to happen to our child, and then this is what's going to happen to me. I'm going to end up living with this grief. I'm going to end up living with this, all the things. And this is what I mean when we say, like, look, you kill my son, I'm going to kill your son, right? This is what we're doing in the Middle East. We're just going to back and forth and back and forth. And when I seek revenge, what am I doing? I'm actually trying to make contact with you. Like, I lost my son. I need somebody to be so empathic with me that they get what it's like for me to, I don't put it in those terms because I don't talk about me. We don't talk about us, you and me. We talk about these abstract ideas.
Right.
We keep it outside the room. And I think that the more willing we are, and again, we have to have willing partners, willing conversation partners who are willing to come into the room as fully into the room as they're willing to come, to eventually bring this really between you and me, right here and now in the room. It keeps it outside this abstract notion that we do primarily as a way to protect ourselves from ourselves.
What are we afraid of, and what do we long for? Are like those are two solid questions. Yeah.
And we got to name things concretely in real time and space, right here and now, between myself and the other party.
Yeah.
So I no longer feel like my answer was that great.
I think your answer was fabulous.
Kidding. I'm not looking for. So let's end with this question here, and Amy, I'd like you to start. When it comes to the 9 domains of integration, Amy.
Oh no! Thank you very much.
No. The question is this, Amy. Could you share how you live repair in daily life? what does it look like concretely? You personally.
So my answer today is different than it would have been when we first started this this season, because can you hear the lawnmowers?
Yeah,
in the
just
background?
it doesn't matter.
And it makes me think of Pep, and I hope that person is not mowing the lawn on their own. Really,
because
I
can assure you they're not, because I'm right there with them. It sounds like
yes.
it sounds
They're
like
mowing my lawn, as a matter of fact.
That's right, they're mowing my lawn.
and every listener of this podcast.
Every most beautiful listener in the world is getting their lawn mowed. The fact that rupture is going to happen, the shift from thinking, can I craft a life for that, is where we can avoid that.
Yeah.
The truth is, and now I wouldn't want to avoid it, because there is a strength and there is a depth in relationship that comes with repair. So I would say, how do I live that out in a daily life? I'm not going to say I welcome it. I'm not quite there yet. But that I am less afraid of it than ever. And I see the beauty in it that I didn't see before. So my posture toward it is different today, and there's a looking for it. I don't chase it. Trusting others to bring it up, but I do have. So how do I live it out daily? I am mindful of it. I am more mindful of it than ever. And then when it does come up, I generally talk to my people, of which you two are a part of those people, because that helps me find space for it and get clarity on it, and I'm not carrying it alone.
That's a great answer. Very good answer.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I thought it was pretty stellar. Yeah.
It was stellar.
Amy Stellar.
Amy Stellar. Look at that. That's her DJ name.
Yeah.
It is.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I want to say, I really think, Amy, you just put your finger on something that I think you've named something that I think has been true for me. Our having these conversations over the past several months has, I think I have had a shift in my general comfort level with being aware that it's in the world. And just like you, I'm not like, oh, I love this, I wish we could have more of these. But I think there's a general sense which I am measurably less anxious about it. I found myself in any number of different situations in which, when the ruptures emerge, I'm like, okay, we're gonna step into this. There's something like, I literally feel right here in my chest a certain sense of just comfort and confidence in our having had this ongoing conversation, the three of us, that has, I think, strengthened my felt sense of resilience and capacity to be okay in the room. And therefore, even this afternoon as we record, I'm going to have a conversation with a couple of people that are in the middle of a bit of a rupture. And our mission is to repair this and to move to the next level of resilience in the relationship. And I think there would have been a time in which I would have just been so much more anxious about it than I am today.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not like I'm not anxious because I have the whole plan all worked out.
Right.
Like I've got the whole script written out and it's all going to work out well. Like, I don't know how it's going to work out, but I know that the two of you are here as part of my cloud of witnesses.
Right. You're not going alone.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Yeah. You know how when you get a new car, suddenly you see that car everywhere when you're driving down the street?
Dude, right.
So
Yes.
I think one of the things that's happened to me is I'm seeing ruptures like everywhere. Like I'm just so much more aware of them.
Yeah.
Ones that I've caused, ones that between other people that I'm in life with, in business, at home. I think that there's much more of an awareness, but I too feel this sense of, I think, I probably, would say that I was conflict adverse before, but I'm not so much anymore as much, I mean, I'm not afraid. Like, it's like, what am I afraid is going to happen? Like, I love that question, Curt, you ask, like, what do you think is going to happen if you face this, if you do this? And so running through those scenarios and having the two of you in the room with me is super helpful. And I think just like when we, when we've done other subjects, when we've done beauty, suddenly, I'm paying attention to beauty more, right? And I'm seeing beauty everywhere, and so I'm seeing rupture everywhere, and I'm attempting to be a person that goes after them in a positive way and wants to be a person of repair. So that's, I think that's where it's this season has impacted me, and I actually plan on going back and re-listening to some of the episodes, because there are things that I have yet to learn, and just hearing it once is not necessarily the way to learn it. But so that's been a big thing for me. Yeah. It's been a great season, and we are grateful for you, the most beautiful listeners in the world, that you are engaged with us in this, and thank you for all your comments. And we do ask that you subscribe to the podcast, and that you tell your friends about it, and that you write reviews about it, and all those things, only because that gets the word out more. And when we first started this podcast, and I've told Curt and Amy this before, but when we first started this podcast, I thought, well, if 400 people listen to it, that's going to be awesome. And that's going to, really those people will be more enriched, because I so believe in Curt's teaching and his wisdom. And so the fact that we are over 3.5 million viewers is just, or listeners, is just sort of impossible to really understand. But it's we want the word to continue to spread. And if you are someone who listens to the podcast, we ask you to help us spread that word, and we appreciate you for it.
Yes, indeed.
Love you guys. We will be back at some point with another season.
Stay
we don't
tuned.
have it quite all figured out yet, but stay tuned. We will. We'll let you know.
Right on.
All right.
Love you.
Love you guys.
Love you. Bye-bye.
This podcast is produced by Curt Thompson, Pepper Sweeney, and myself, Amy Chella. Audio production and editing is by Keaton Simons. Video production and editing is done by Mark Gould. If you'd like to connect with us, you can find us on social media at BeingKnownPod. If you like this podcast, tell a friend. If you love this podcast, tell everyone you know. And please like, rate, and review wherever you listen. Be well, be known.